Oh, yeah.
Hello?
Hi, Mom.
Stay here with me by the lake until it gets dark.
So M.O.M is the second song off of Hot Mulligan's EP, Honest and Cunning. And I actually had a pretty hard time figuring out what M.O.M stood for until the Hot Mulligan Discord mod, Kyle, he sent me a tweet that they sent out saying that it stands for Mandarin over margarine for literally no reason at all. There's some trivia. The song is pretty clearly about either unrequited feelings for someone or thinking about a relationship that you've lost. I kind of prefer the former of the two interpretations, and I'll explain why a little later. There might actually be more to it than that, but I'm bad at art and not very media literate, both of which are pretty bad attributes to have when you're trying to dissect music critically.
Stay here with me by the lake until it gets dark. We could set off fireworks from the inside of my car.
Before we talk about the lyrics, I just want to mention the kind of like raggediness of Tade's voice here. Raggediness might not be the word because it's not really his vocals that sound rough and harsh. It's more like the actual instrumentation that recorded his voice is kind of tinny. I feel like this song sounds almost like it was recorded with a tin can with a microphone inside of it. And that's not being said as a bad thing. I like the sound a lot. I just wanted to point it out because it's another instance of Honest and Cunning being one of Hot Mulligan's more kind of scrappy and rough and homegrown sounding projects. Assuming you like this kind of music enough, I think it's fair to say that each project Hot Mulligan has put out has its own kind of distinct style and sound to it, and I'm a big fan of the rough edges of Honest and Cunning. So the song starts by painting a, what is at this point, pretty familiar picture. It's a teenager or a young adult or whatever with a friend in a small town out by a lake in the woods setting off fireworks. Now, fireworks have come up before in their music, specifically in Buy a Fire Extinguisher Before You Need a Fire Extinguisher. And going forward, they're mentioned consistently throughout the rest of their discography in songs like All You Wanted by Michelle Branch, and then even referenced in some of their more recent songs like Cock Party 2 Better Than the First. I'm not super confident on what the intent is behind bringing up fireworks so often, but from what I can tell, they're often associated with or like directly represent the kind of youthful exuberance and hopefulness of being a kid or being young and naive. I mean, what's more of a small town kid thing to do than go around setting off fireworks and causing chaos just because it's fun and you have no reason to not just have fun? In Buy a Fire Extinguisher, I mentioned that the song is about desperately wanting to hold on to this dream you have of a storybook romance and happy ending, and then getting a harsh lesson from reality when you realize things are way more complicated and shitty than that. And in that song, the imagery that they use to tie to that idea is a boy in a girl's backyard during a Michigan winter setting off fireworks to try to get her attention, and the sparks flying all around him and falling slowly into the cold snow, getting snuffed out. It's a visual depiction of the way that his youthful, hopeful determination is getting snuffed out as he gets older. So given that, in this song, the invitation to come set off fireworks by the lake with the singer can be seen as him asking this person to come and just be young and happy again. To come exist in that space where life hasn't gotten complicated yet and things are still new and exciting. But the whole section starts with that line, "Stay here with me." And I think that kind of paints the whole thing as less of a just fun idea thing that he threw out to his friend and more like kind of a desperate plea. It paints the image of this other person growing up and moving on and leaving while our singer just wants to stay where he is and he wants them to stay with him.
The sparks are lighting up your face, and your smile, oh your smile, I could never forget. Trying to catch a look through the smoke in my cigarette.
This section solidifies, at least to me, that the relationship he's talking about here is a romantic one. If we just heard the section of lyrics before, it could have been a relationship with a friend or a sibling or something, but this pretty clearly makes it seem like he has feelings for this other person. And I really love the setting that Tades paints here. The idea of sitting in your shitty old beater of a car in the woods, setting off fireworks over a lake, while the smoke from your cigarette and from the fireworks fills the car, is weirdly romantic. I don't know how he does it either, man. Like, just describing it just then, it didn't sound that interesting or cute or good, but just the words that he uses and the way that he conveys them makes it seem so sweet and wholesome. And the nervousness of young love is so tightly displayed with the line, "trying to catch a look through the smoke of my cigarette." God damn, man. I mean, like, I've always been grossed out by the idea of smoking. Maybe because I grew up with a touch of asthma, or maybe because all those stupid DARE programs worked in elementary school. But the idea of smoking anything has always made me want to gag. But Tades manages to get around that lifelong disgust and make me think of cigarette smoke in that car as something that's more like a fond memory, like a nostalgia, and sweet and romantic. And you know what? Matter of fact, could I get a pack of Marlboro Reds? Sweet, thank you very much. Fuck. That was not worth $15. Oh, gosh. Oh, that's better. Dude, I feel like a real YouTuber now. I cut to footage of me buying something that I clearly bought way earlier just to pretend that I stopped recording to go do it. You think I'm gonna stop recording this for any reason? You know how hard it is to set up my phone? This is my current camera setup. I'm not touching that shit until I have all the footage I need.
Reciting every lyric that I got in your bag. I'm shitty like the alarm goes off as I stare at the clock. And the pillow on your bed is the one that left my heart. I'm only writing in hope of you reciting every lyric that I got in your bag. I'm shitty lighting, the alarm goes off as I stare at the clock. And the pillow on your bed is the one that I left my heart on.
So I mentioned that this song is about unrequited love. And the singer writes this and sings this not to express his own emotions or to handle his own feelings, but in the hope that it will have an effect on this other person. It's unclear whether the two of them were ever together romantically or not, but regardless, it's clear that he had or has feelings that he either never told her or were never fully reciprocated. But if he can get her to sing this song, if he can get her to sing it even when she's alone in her bedroom with shitty lighting, he'll still be a part of her life in some way. He'll be on her mind, and even if it's not in the way he wishes he was, it's better than nothing to him. Mulligan toys with the idea of songs and music being kind of like permanent marks left on people after relationships. A few LPs down the line in Pilot, they mention it in All You Wanted by Michelle Branch when they say, "I hope this song makes your playlist, the ones you make and think I don't notice, that everyone has your favorite song you didn't know until I showed it to you." It almost reminds me a little bit of Gives You Hell by the All-American Rejects. In that song, the reasoning is a lot more outwardly malicious, but the same concept is applied where the singer wants this song to be something that always reminds this other person of them and of the relationship that they had and lost. It's a very common experience to associate songs with certain people, and when that is applied to romantic relationships, especially romantic relationships that go wrong, it can leave people with this permanent scar, and all it takes is hearing that one song to bring up who knows what kind of bundle of emotions. There's a bit of nuance here if it is the case where he has feelings for this girl and she has never had any feelings back. If she sings this song and thinks of him, she'll think of him maybe only as a friend, which isn't what he wants or what he thinks, but it's still better than nothing for him. He's struggling with his feelings, begging her to stay with him, setting off fireworks at this proverbial lake. But she's growing up and moving on, and he's having to confront that fact more and more. After this, the song goes into a very long instrumental that builds up into this kind of wild, panicking, flailing drum section that has always been very, very memorable for me. Probably second only to the catch a glimpse of your face line from earlier. And I'll play that out, the end of it and into the end of the song, but beforehand I want to point one thing out. The drums here have always sounded like they're impressive to me. Like, I have no idea what is and isn't impressive and intentional and cool about music theory, but this shit sounds like it would make someone who knows music theory be like, oh, this is cool, it's math rocky or some shit. I asked my friend who's like a music theory dude about it, and he said he thought it was really cool, but he didn't see anything in particular jump out. But I still want to call it out because it has stuck with me a lot, and I think it's a very well performed and very well placed instrumental in the song. The hecticness of it kind of aligns with the narrative of the singer right now kind of internally struggling, trying to decide whether he should just face it and move on like this girl is, or if he should keep holding on to this idea of what he thinks he could have. I'm not sure if the drums were recorded by Chris, Brandon, or an old member of the band named Brendan Lambert, because Honest Cunning came out in 2015, and you can see in this graph that around then there was a lot of change up with who was playing drums, but whoever did it absolutely killed it. And then there's the big gut punch at the end. If this song is about an ex and a relationship that was lost, then it's a classic case of looking back and still having feelings that you're trying to deal with. I think I prefer the other interpretation though, where this person was a friend of the singer's and they were never in a romantic relationship, and the singer had feelings, but they never communicated them and they were never reciprocated. It adds some more context to that first line of the song, "Stay here with me." If he was never able to tell her how he felt, or if he knew that she would never feel the same way back, then he's having to watch her grow up and move on and fall in love and be happy. And he knows that's good for her and he should be happy for her, but he can't help but be selfish and beg her to stay as young kids like they were. Stay in the car by the lake, setting off fireworks. Stay naive and happy because that's the only context in which he can hold on to hope that they might end up together someday. So he ends the song by acknowledging that it's never going to happen and that she is in love with someone else, but then he decides to continue irrationally denying it and waiting and holding out for a dream that is foolish. M.O.M is definitely an easier song to see as just a kind of sad boy, post-emo, breakup love song. And to be fair, I do think that's what it is at its core. But as I looked at it a bit closer, like so many of Hot Mulligan's songs, I think there's a lot more nuance to it. It explores the effects of nostalgia and self-deception and denial and acceptance. You learn more about who the singer is by how he handles his feelings, and you learn about how he views himself because of the way he handles those feelings. It captures a very intimate and very human experience, a sort of incompetency at navigating your own emotions. And it talks about cigarettes, which are freaking awesome and dope and good for you also.
So basically, Hot Mulligan is a failed Ponzi scheme, but a surprisingly good band.